Welcome to the Wall Street Weekly Wrap-Up, the Sound Edition, Saturday, October 4th, 2025. And I'm your host, John Newquist. Was it a good week? Yes, it was. Another good week out of many good weeks this year. Let's take a look at it. The NextGen Portfolio, boom, 19.67% up. Another 2%. This is crazy. We're hoping for 8% because that's historically, what I see as the average. Some people said, oh, it's 10% if you go back to 1850. Okay. 8 to 10%, let's say. Government shutdown. I'm not a fan of the shutdown. Just let it be at that. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't do anybody good. And but obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about it because this shutdown's different than other shutdowns. Usually they pay the military and enforcement. This is all or nothing. So, what is the effect when they got paid September 30th and we go 2 weeks, which would be probably October 13th, and they don't get a paycheck? You got million plus soldiers and government workers that don't have a check. They're going to be calling. I know, because in 95, when they cut it down in 6 weeks, that's what they did. They called their Congress people. They called everybody. It didn't matter what state you were in. So this is, I don't want to say a big game of posturing, but this is kind of literally unknown territory because in 95 they at least paid the military. This one is all or nothing. So we'll see if it's a taco Don or it's going to be hardball. I'm going to say the tacos always win. All right. So OPEC meets this weekend. Expectation for a 500,000 barrel increase, which is going to be more supply. And if we remember Economics 101, less oil prices. Prices will go down. More supply. Demand is constant. Price will go down. How are we doing against the market? Well, look at this. Remember, we always benchmark against the S&P 500. We're up now 5% above it. Why? Because we got the three meme stocks, and I'll talk about it. Plug, Fluence, Fuel Cell, in addition to our Paramount. It's like, we didn't stumble into it as a meme stock. We bought it because of some fundamentals that we liked, and the markets turned it into a meme stock. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The Nasdaq, we're still being the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is hot, 18%. And the Russell, number 3, the Dow Jones set a record. Wow. And then the S&P mid caps, everybody's like, okay, it's only up 5%. That's a big difference. You think about the S&P is up 14, the mid caps are 5. That's a big discrepancy. The China market, look at this thing. These guys are taking it up, and the China stocks are really running up high. And that's why we have the Filch, the Franklin Templeton China Fund, because it's been going up, and because they are growing. They're doing well in South America. They're doing well in Africa. They're doing well in some parts of Europe. But, if this war ever ends, they're going to be a full, if they ever get the trade agreement, man, it's going to be full tilt exports to the United States. The 2-year went down to 3.7. They're looking at the rates. Remember, we got the rate cuts, so we're seeing the rates go down lower. That's kind of nice instead of like last September when we had the rates go up higher. And like, what? Crude oil, look at this. It's like hanging on with its bare fingers on the ledge of falling into the 50s. And that's quite a bit. You would think if the Ukrainians are bombing all the Russian refineries and 40% of the oil is gone, it'd be higher. But again, they're going to increase supply. So remember, we're going to have kind of a nice holiday season maybe with lower oil, which nobody will complain about from the consumer side. Again, natural gas, look at this going up higher. It's over 3, and natural gas. We're going to talk a little bit about the natural gas turbines. And one of the things that I was watching the history of natural gas versus coal. Yeah, you can think, what do you want to do today? I think I want to watch natural gas versus coal. Click. Coal was always the cheap energy source, and natural gas around about the late 90s became cheaper. And then, of course, that created a huge demand for natural gas peaker plants and everything else. And we'll talk about the turbine stuff. Gold, I showed a gold chart. You look at this at 25 years, I've been watching it forever, so as long as everything's on that chart, you know, it doesn't go back to 1906, but, you know, 31.19, everybody knows 4,000's coming. 4,000's coming. You know, when you had the opportunity to buy for this long stretch here, we were just nibbling, you know, just a little bit every year, you know, buy an ounce here, ounce there, and, you know, now it's doubled. It's huge. And, you know, one thing you look at about the gold chart, you know, even if you bought at the peak, you know, you waited about 12 years to get to another peak. This is a big jump, you know, so I like I said, I tell people, unless you see the deficit going down, gold's going to be a solid investment. That's all you have to do. If the deficit goes down, then maybe gold ain't so good. And of course, silver, $47.95, $2 away from the all-time high of 1980 when the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market and got to $50. So sometimes, you know, you can think about, wow, 25 years later, if you bought at that peak, you know, then you still didn't get your money back. You know, so a lot of people back then will buy silver at 26 times face value. So if you had $1 silver coins, like dimes, quarters, halves, they were giving you 26 bucks. I used that to help pay for college. It was just amazing. You know, like you knew it was a bubble. You know, it was literally a bubble. And you can't corner silver because you don't have a limited supply. It's still in the ground. People are selling jewelry, people are selling silverware. Silverware was silver and everything. And of course, the Hunt brothers didn't have that much money. You know, so you always think about somebody like Elon. If he wants to corner something, he could buy slowly and just own everything. So copper above 5. Boy, that's a big deal. That's a big deal because, I mean, infrastructure's going up, China's hot, copper's going. This is all my barometer. Anytime it's over 450, we're doing good in the economy. And again, like I said, good. Meta launched AI Vive. I thought it was pretty good. You can take a photo and it'll do a video for you. So let's watch this. Look at this. This is amazing. These people are smiling. They're moving, everything else. I was impressed. Now, Zuckerberg said 40% of the users on his systems, you know, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, Threads, follow AI content. That means 6 billion people on Meta's 2.4 follow AI content somewhere. That's pretty amazing. And they don't monetize it. So that's a big deal.
This is a reminder. I enhanced.
Oh, yes, you are. I didn't pay for it.
I enhanced.
I know you are. I mean, I didn't pay for it. You know, it's free with Amazon. I've been using Meta. If you want to talk back and forth, Meta, the new Meta edition. Speaking of Meta, we're on Meta. Is pretty good. They don't monetize the AI content. YouTube, which is owned by Google, does not pay the AI creators, but they're going to have to. If you got 2.7 million, 2.4 million people making AI content and being watched by other people, you got to reward the best creators. You want to sit there and create content and have stuff that's pretty cheap. It doesn't cost you anything to sit there. You just throw them some money. You could have people that are going to get $1 million. They're going to take this, and they're going to be able to make, you know, a food fight. They're going to make a drama situation of, you know, like Beverly Hills 90210. This is the future. I mean, this is all bandwidth, and, you know, the manufacture of the, you know, the what I call the Blackwell chips and stuff, the Grace Hopper. This is stuff that, you know, is going to change a lot of stuff in the video editing world, the movie creation. You're going to have 12-year-old kids who have time on their hands. They're going to be able to make all the videos themselves. I think they have to monetize the best. You know, if you get 1 million views, we're going to throw you $100 or something, or $1,000. You know, I mean $1,000 because, you know, they know the advertiser will watch. You know, they'll get content watching it and stuff. So pretty interesting. You know, I think it's a area, and I think Meta is leading in that area. All right. And again, you know, like I said, Meta's, if you want to talk back and forth with an assistant, I think Meta's got the best right now. The other ones, not so good. Very awkward, you know, but it is pretty good. Let me see. And then Eli Lilly said, oh, we're going to put tariffs. No, not Eli. The president said you're going to put tariffs on all the drug companies that don't make the product in the United States. I.e. Zozempic. Going to go up 100. You know, dang thing is like $1,000 without insurance. Now you're going to have another $1,000. Healthcare ain't going to pay for that. Who benefits? Eli Lilly. So guess what? Eli Lilly shot up. Now you got to look at Eli Lilly's chart. This is our 200-day moving average. Everything's below it. The first good sign is when it breaks above the 200-day moving average. The next best sign is when the 50-day goes above it. That's the cross. So, like I said, you had your chance. Nobody wanted to buy it. Lilly is one of those things. It's sitting over here in the 700s. Nobody's going to buy it. Now it's over 850. Now we can't get in fast enough. So, NVIDIA going to spend $1.5 billion. Just $1.5 billion renting the CoreWeave chips. And the idea is they want to have compute power on it, and that's in there. NVIDIA is at a high. I mean, it's at the high this week. Again, they did a deal with UAE. Somebody said Jensen Wong was upset that it's taken so long. I was like, you haven't dealt with the Middle East. Things go a long time. As I learned real quick, cash up front, son. You got to pay some money. You want me to come out there? Because I've seen people get stiffed. It's all out of negotiation. They like negotiation. A lot of countries, India, Middle East, Eastern Europe, they love negotiation. It's not, that's like fun for them. I don't know about China, but China sure likes a negotiation. So, you have to sit there and take it as it is, and they want it, they'll pay it. That's how I always say it. And they're going to build a major partnership. So NVIDIA is growing. Remember, all the chips are sold out this year. And we're going to get the Rubin chip next year sometime. But, if I was to say something, like maybe Jensen could wait, put the Rubin in 2027. Let's get the Blackwell out there and stuff. NextEra, nuclear plant, 20-year lease. This is how they're doing. And I go back to Ron DeSantis.
This is a reminder.
Oh, hold on.
Where is the S and P 500 going to be at the end of the year?
Okay, Alexa, stop.
This is a reminder. Where is the
Doesn't
S
stop.
and P 500 going to be at the end of the year?
Hey Google, what's S&P 500 at right now?
The S&P 500 is up 0.01% to 6,716.
So 6,700, is the number we're at. I was talking, we're going to get a crash, and I think it could happen at the government shutdown. Remember, if October 13th they don't get it paid, there's going to be a lot of turmoil, and the market could crash then. May not. Remember, we said, the last week of September and the month of October are vulnerable. We could get it. It could be a fast one. It depends how much posturing goes on. Ron DeSantis said, you want a big data center in Florida, you better bring the energy. And this is what people are doing. They're starting to say, okay, we want the data center there. We're going to plan for 20 years. We're going to go to the Point B nuclear plant. We're going to get the energy from there. And this is what they're doing. We have, Meta in my town right here, and Byron is like 30 miles away. There's a big line going from Byron to Aurora. A big line. I watched it being constructed by a company called MJ Electric, and this is the line that Meta taps into. 40,000 houses worth of electricity at the Meta facility. And that's without the energy efficient, the Blackwell chips. So, the number everybody's watching, if you've owned NextEra forever like we have, is the 84 number. If they break this, you're going to have no more sellers. It's going to be a ramp up, and that could be a big spike up. Otherwise, I want to say NextEra has been kind of going sideways between 60 to 75 and pays a dividend, so it's still good. Again, Firefly Aerospace lost a rocket. People didn't like that news, and they tanked it down. And I just said, remember, we eased in it. We're in a 10% position, and we bought some more this week at 26, and and you can still get it at 26, 27. The idea is that you lost a rocket. Well, big deal. SpaceX lost a rocket. NASA lost several rockets. It's just part of the whole thing. It's not like life or death. Yes, it's an inconvenience. You may not be able to do as much launches, but that's part of the whole process. So, I like it. Again, the earnings, were down. People were looking for an increase in earnings. They didn't expect a drop. But I think, like I said, this is a company that's good. It's got a good product, and we're just easing into it slowly. We'll probably buy it in the next couple months more. But again, I think they're overreacting to the issue. I mean, this is a company that's got a lot of clients. It's not like hoping for things. It's got clients, and it hasn't ticked off anybody in the administration, which is a pseudo bonus. Again, also in Meta, we have Meta twice because I had so much Meta news. It's going to reduce dependence on the chips by getting Rivios, who's going to do inference, which remember, this is the difference of NVIDIA chips versus Intel chips. The inference, to be able to make it think and react and do these things like video and everything else, are going to be popular. Now, what has the stock done? Well, we came out with, the dividend, and I don't want to say the dividend tanked it, but that isn't it, but it broke out of the wedge negatively, and generally, this is not when you want to buy. If you were new to NVIDIA, you just wait till it bases. Everybody's watching, the yellow 200-day moving average. If it gets down here, could be in there. Remember, the high flyers go first, and this is the Mag 7. I mean, other than NVIDIA, a lot of the Mag 7 have been struggling. So, again, the idea is that they can't get all the NVIDIA chips they want, so they're going to try to, work on it and have somebody else help them out. So this is an issue that a lot of people are looking at, and it's the Google, it's going to be other companies that are trying to say, hey, we need to have this because we got the demand. We just got to get the data centers up. PSKY or Paramount Sky Global, boy, they added boxing. I tell you what, you watch the Carmelo fight, I think they got like 140 million between the two boxers. I mean, just an insane amount of money of people watching that fight. Again, people who fought for a long time never lost. That's a big draw. And Zuff Boxing, like I said, they're going to have a 5-year diet. Right. Again, Paramount's going to cover. Again, I think Paramount is going to be the demand streaming. And, they haven't got NFL yet, but I wouldn't doubt it. There's a lot of money. And, again, I call this the meme stock, right? We're buying in it right over here, right here when we got the announcement of TKO, which is UFC, which I'm a big fan of. And you think about it, you bought August 15th, and now you're up 90%. That's a meme stock. I mean, I call it a meme stock because that's pretty good. And how high could it go? We don't know. I mean, this is stuff that you can run into, and it's nice to buy low, as they say. Google's going to sell the Verily unit. I had to go look it up because I knew about it, but I didn't know what it did. And it's one of these things where they take AI and help apply it to it. There's a stock that a lot of the things like Bristol Myers Squibb has gone to. It's not Verily, but I think, like I said, the Google, again, we set the high as a lot of the Mag 7 have come back. They've pulled back from the high. And I think once the shutdown, is over, then we could come back and start marching up higher. Plug, this is one of our 3 meme stocks. All right, we're going to see.
This is a reminder. Will Bitcoin go to 150?
Okay. Let's see.
This is a reminder. Will Bitcoin go to 150?
Good question. Alexa, what is Bitcoin at now?
1 Bitcoin is worth 122,000 US dollars, up less than 1% over the last 24 hours.
So 124,000 is the high. So we'll talk about Bitcoin later. So we're close. And of course, it snuck up on people. It did. We'll look at the chart. But our 3 other meme stocks, I call my clean energy basket. Remember, we bought some Plug, hydrogen stock, zero emissions. Remember, companies are going to need this power, and hydrogen is pretty easily to get. Just split the water into oxygen and hydrogen, and you can always sell the oxygen. You got the hydrogen. So we're in over here. We're at. I put down 243 because sometimes I can't remember what I buy it at, and we've shot up in a week. You go up almost 50%. That's meme stock money. That's not rational. This is a small company. It's been around forever. I mean, Plug Power had its run back in the late 90s, and hydrogen buses and hydrogen cars were going to be it. And guess what? We don't have the hydrogen cars. It just, the whole infrastructure that Tesla has put out shows how different it would be to do hydrogen's version of it. But the data centers could use hydrogen for fuel. Could store it very easily. You got space. just a matter of storing it. It's plentiful. Bring it in by trucks, rail, whatever you need to do. And this is where companies like FuelCell could, do well. Again, we bought Plug and FuelCell and Fluence because they're growing revenues. They're not profitable. This is the big knock. Remember, we're not going to go in 100%. We're going to go up max 50%, but we want to be in it because I'm a fan of this area. If people are doing these long-term contracts, these companies are going to eventually benefit. And of course, somebody from H.C. Wainwright, I don't remember who it was, said it can go to 7. Wait a minute. Now it's up another 70, 80%. So you can see this could be crazy when the earnings come out. So earnings, fourth quarter is July, so next November, next November, but like 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to get Plug's earning, and everybody wants to see the revenue growth. They want to see it jump up again. So FuelCell, again, same thing. Another company been around forever. Back in the dot-com boom, had its run. When you look at these 200-day moving average, they're coming down over a high that was crazy. But we got in there, and it's jumped up over $10 now, $10.21. And again, there was no announcement, but because it's hydrogen, people rode the hydrogen bus and took fuel cell up because they figure if Plug's getting it, fuel cells get it. Again, remember, this is our basket, because we know energy is going to be hot. Not the oil companies, but energy. And Fluence is the other one. Fluence is going to have AES, which owns a significant stake. And I didn't go dig out the number, but, when they say significant, I figure 5%. At least 5%. And I, for some reason, this is a stock company. I can't remember the symbol. I have to always look it up. And even though we've owned it before and we took our money out of it, profitable, when we got out over here, it went way down here. And guess what we're doing? We're buying back over here. So not so bad. But BlackRock is buying it. Remember, are they buying it to get the stake in Fluence? I'm not sure. But that's a pretty big issue, and again, it's up above the 200-day moving average. Look at the cross here. 50-day and 200-day, the 20-day and the 50-day both crossed. Positive sign. You can see when it crosses over here and we get the movement, the reaction is an up day, because people's, data says, oh, got to buy the crosses. It's statistically an area that does pretty good. If it's volatile, you're in and out. But this is for a lot of traders, this is a sign to buy. PLTR, well, of course, PE's 500, and then it's a 300, and I really was surprised to see the fundamental security call by Reuters, saying that there's concern about something wrong in their programming, which tanked the stocks, 7%. But this is really weird that Reuters gets what I would think is a confidential memo about this. This usually would not be a public item. I don't know how Reuters did it or somebody gave Reuters this, but again, the channel is up, the channel's holding, but the issue is, can it go down? Now, if you look at how bad could it get down to, is 120. I don't think it'll ever get down there, but this is an issue. Now, a lot of people got out of it, a lot of short sellers in it. I don't know. This is going to be a top stock. It's too pricey for us right now, and of course the government shutdown. Who's not going to probably get paid? Maybe it's Palantir. I don't know if they do any contract work, but this is stuff where, you want to get business. They're not going to be doing business because they're shut down. All right, let's talk about the turbine engines. All right. Go back to our coal versus gas. Gas companies all started getting the cheap gas after, doing the fracking and everything else. And then all of a sudden, the oversupply came. All these orders came in for these peaker plants and these gas turbines. They built up, and then the market collapsed. And all of a sudden, you've built up your facilities and everything else, and now you're idling a lot of your plants and stuff. So, who's in the top 3? GE Vernova, which we own, Siemens, and Mitsubishi Heavy Industry. They're 70% of the gas turbine market. And the reason that's important is that you want them, you're probably going to go to those 3. Like Meta, they're going to power the AI data center with gas. Remember, they're starting to look at these alternative energy sources. Gas is cheap. You know, when does gas get expensive? When it's like $6. When I remember we were paying $6, you know, a therm type of thing. So, what's the backlog? Depending on who you talk to, 18 months to 5 years. And again, this is old companies that remember how brutal it was to overexpand. So they rather have a backlog than try to meet the demand and then have it idle. So, you know, when the 5 year, I mean, I wouldn't mind having a 5 year backlog, but that's pretty amazing. So it is a big issue to look
This is
at.
a reminder. When do I sell my plug in Paramount? This is a reminder. When do I sell my plug in Paramount?
When the revenues drop to single digits growth each quarter from a quarter a year ago, that's when you jump it. If they're doing good, they'll have double digit growth. And you know, eventually we hope they get profitable, and then we're going to go 100% in. JPM came out with his favorite stock list. Usually I kind of ignore these because, you know, it's always the stuff that seems to be hot. So, but through the magic of AI, I got the lists, and you know, it's typical companies: Amazon, Broadcom, Meta, Google, which we own. But they had some unusual ones: Carvana and I call it Activa, but it's ACVA Auto Auctions, because the used cars are hot. The tariffs are high on the cars, so no tariffs on used cars. So the people who are selling the used cars are doing well because there's a lot of value. You know, if you're paying, let's say, 25% tariffs, you're not paying it on the used car, whether it be a Toyota Camry or any of the other ones that are made out of the country. Pulte is a home builder. Lowest interest rates going to mean the home builders are going to go in there. And you know, I don't know. Home builders are cyclical. I mean, we could get into it, but I'm not into it. Armstrong Building, AWI. You know, again, if the homes are going to sell, people are going to work on their house, they're going to benefit. Then, of course, the typical ones that are, you know, I call internet darlings of past and present: Spotify, eBay, Etsy, Duolingo, the tech companies Marvell and ADI, AT&T, and McCormick Spices. All right, so I thought, okay, now it's a diversified list, very heavy on tech, of course. 1, 2, 3 of the Mag 7. Then they had other ones like PTEC. I can't even say it. PTCT. Say that real fast. Top line data for Huntington's disease, phase 1 criminal trial. You know, chart-wise, it's not bad. It's been kind of slowly chugging upward. I mean, I don't mind these slow uptrends, you know, because, you know, you wait a couple years, it's doubled now. Well, I have been around biotech forever, and I don't care about phase 1, phase 2. That's just hope. When they pass phase 3 and it works, that's when I buy. I just learn from a lot of, you know, biotech stocks. You can drop 50% and there's no reason. So, but I stick with the companies that are going. We got the Inked and Novacor, which were proven to work. So I'm sticking with them. People are like, well, you know, they don't make money. Well, they don't have to. They're biotechs. I mean, they are eventually going to get enough positive successes. The big ones will grab them, and that's when we make the money. HASI, HASI, finances, you know, solar. Again, what I like, land energy storage, you know, and they're financing these projects because this is what the data centers want to have. Get all the solar from the summer stored in our land energy storage facility, and we got it for the winter time. I mean, they're looking at all sorts of ways. You go to TSMC in Arizona, it's all solar farms, you know. They're trying not to make sure the people have shortages in the community because they're sucking so much of the electricity out. So there's a lot of planning and a lot of long-term planning on this, and that's why the energy companies that we have, like Southern, are going to be good. The utilities are good, so not a bad chart. You know, again, a lot of stuff's been stagnating. I'm cutting the chart off at April because that's our bottom. That's our Navarro nonsense day, and it's slowly going up. I mean, these are nice trends, and you know, it's now 50-day and 50-day and 20-day have crossed it. It's if you want to buy, this is your time to buy. If you want to get more into it, now we got 3. I mean, we don't need to add more. So, PRIM, energy infrastructure, again, not a bad chart. I mean, this is really, you know, this is kind of like a nice chart. It's a little high for me, you know, but this low slope is good. Again, upsiding, a positive growth for fiscal 2025. They're going to give, EPS 10% more. Anytime you say EPS increase 10%, they're just going to buy. And so this stock has done well. And another one, another good play. Ideally we'd have a basket of these, but I'm 5 in energy, so I don't need to add more. That's pretty overweight. Sora, this is OpenAI, ChatGPT, realistic video creation. You talk and it'll make the video. All right, let's take a look at our video. Realistic, it's kind of like cartoonish, I would think. It's good cartoon. It's very nice 3D cartoon.
This is a reminder. Why did you discuss Apple and Tesla?
Well,
This is a reminder. Why did you discuss Apple and Tesla?
I didn't discuss Apple and Tesla because I didn't think the news was it. We already had the iPhone 17. Apple got downgraded to a sell by Jeffries, and I was like, oh. And I've been hearing, buy Apple, don't trade it. Yeah, that's fine. But we went through 5 quarters in a row with no growth or low digit growth, and now we had a good quarter, and they still haven't got Siri out, which is in there. They kind of pushed away the Vision Pro. Now we're going to go into the Meta glasses, which Meta's hit a home run with. And my person said, oh, they got to put the certain optics in the glasses and everything else. And I was like, this is 2025. You're selling me glasses. You should be the one selling me the glasses. Should not have to go to somebody else to buy the Ray-Ban or Oakley's AI glasses, for Meta. So, Amazon was first, and it was good, but now we're going to have stuff on the screen, which by your hand you move. It's good. So, another thing, a lot of people talk about it, and eventually, you're going to make a video script from the thing, and you're going to have your own, characters, and you can put them in your battle game or your romantic drama or anything else. This is just wide open. If you were a kid at 10 years old and you have access to make your own videos and string it along, keep the characters, you'll find out this kid will win Academy Award at 15 years old because he's just had all that time to work on it and get you at an idea what he wanted to do. And that's what we're running into. And wait till music comes. It hasn't come yet, but it's coming. Someone's going to make AI music, and I'm going to be able to make songs by saying, okay, take this beat from the Beatles and add this to Nirvana and do this, and it will synthesize it. I don't know how ethical or legal it'll be, but it's coming. Nike, just because it's the largest still, revenue's up 4%, but overall 1%. Not good. Not good. Don't get me excited about it. Remember, Hoka Deckers, which we own, Deck, is at 18% growth on the shoes and the products. So we're sticking with the winner, which is the one that's growing the best. People like this chart, man. Look at it's going up every day, but man, here's our 200-day. We got a lot of ways. Wake me up when it breaks it. But Nike's lost a lot, and in a way, the athlete market, which is what they have, it has no big athlete other than maybe Caitlin Clark. Otherwise, football and baseball and basketball, which has been a lot of shoes, doesn't have that equivalent of a Kobe Bryant or some other, Michael Jordan right now. They just don't have it, and that's where, Nike's hurting, because people don't want to buy the clothing and don't want to buy the shoes because $200 shoes is a lot of money, especially if the economy's contracting. Progress Software, I tell you, this company, we'll talk about software stocks, 39%. It increased. It's better than it was a year ago. So it's going up. It raised guidance, everything. And now we're finally getting some movement. But I want to get past the 55. This has just been one of those stocks like, the software sector, the rant is we are contracting, lowering workers. Therefore, we need less licenses per company. So that's the whole rap on software. You just can't get past it. And that's why the stocks have not done well, because people says, as AI gets rid of, the inefficiencies in the companies, there are going to be less workers, less license, therefore you're not. But I keep on looking at this. This is growing pretty good. That's not like, flat. The greater fool theory, I haven't talked about it in my show, so let's talk about it, because This was came out around the tulip bulb craze back in the 1600s, where people were paying, outstanding things where a tulip bulb could be worth your house. Come on, but this is what people do. The fear of missing out, FOMO, is a big deal. .com boom, same way, it was going up. The housing crisis, surge, or everything. Everybody was flipping houses. I kept on seeing Deanna thinking, oh yeah, I bought this house, I flipped it for this, got another house, does it. And you're getting bigger and bigger houses until it crashed and you got stuck with this $700,000 house that was going to be worth $100,000 in less than 2 years. And you lost everything and more. I mean, I watched my friend in Forest Park, the $200,000 house became worth $500,000, didn't sell, got back down to $150,000. There's got to be a price you're going to take that's just outrageously high, because housing is short, but you've got a big country and you can live somewhere else cheaper. So some people say, well, look at Bitcoin. I says, well, Bitcoin is if you look at the history of it, from day one, it's parabolic, but it's some people call it digital gold. I mean, I don't think it's going to be the transaction of the future. It's more of like this novelty. It's like we all own IBM stock from 1930. Well, good, but it's still IBM, and how much has it made you? Well, a lot from 1930, but I don't know. I mean, where's the thing? I mean, I could say the clean stocks that we have for the three clean energies are, people are buying as a meme stock, unprofitable companies. This is the .com boom. This is why we try to stay with profitable companies with double-digit growth. That helps cushion the blow. That's why we're only at 3 at tech and not like 12 like a lot of people. Costco. I mean, you talk about a company that's good, and it's just been struggle. This is the struggle bus of retail, and it broke down through the chart. Everybody's now looking at the low. It's below the averages now, and everything is wrong with Costco, except it is nothing wrong with Costco. It goes up 6% a year, 8% a year on revenues. PE's always been high at Costco. You're never going to get it at single digits, so don't even try. Good customer base, good quality products. You want in. You got to start thinking about maybe this is not a bad time to buy. I mean, it's going to be $900 and it was up $1,000. Some people are waiting for $700. I know, but it's it's a good company. It's nothing wrong. Will it grow 8% next year? Yes. Will it go? It's pretty predictable. So, I always look at it. Wall Street always is a place runs out the door when there's a discount on it, and you're down. Let's say 10% discount. Okay. There's the theory of 36%. One of the Fibonacci numbers, and that's a number. I says, okay, we take it down 36%, and we're down at 600. I'm buying it. 600 something. I'm buying. I don't care. Just because it's the model's nothing wrong with Costco. It's just the sentiment. This is the margin compression, I call it. Bitcoin 124,000 is the record, and that's what everybody's watching it. Once we break it, it might retreat real quick, or it could just shoot up. And this is where people think it might go to 150. I don't know. I mean, I learned not to predict Bitcoin. I just learned, to go through it. I mean, people are like, hey, it's 107. Oh my God, look at this. And then pop. I mean, essentially, 7 days straight up and, one down day. I mean, that's not so bad. Look at our software stock, only with Microsoft. I mean, but the software sector is getting love. I mean, we're seeing the revenues increase slowly. Remember, light blue is 0 to 5% or 0.1 to 5%. Over 5% year-to-year growth difference is in there. So we've got a lot of them. Only Square, which I hate, doesn't have any kind of momentum. Ultra competitive, poor customer service. That's Square. Coinbase had a horrible quarter. Remember when Bitcoin went back down to 107, people didn't sell. So is Coinbase. Coinbase is on a lot of people's focus lists, as I call it. We got Morgan, we got J.P. Morgan in the financial sector. So. I mean, we can call this a software stock. The thing is, Coinbase is high fees. That's really it, and I don't think the fees are worth it. But that's just me. Microsoft PE is 37. We've got a dividend, So like I said, we watched this. It's it was high. It jumped at earnings. It jumped at earnings. Will it jump at August earnings? I mean October earnings? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of people watching it though, but it'll be 4 trillion. I have no doubt. And then the heat map over here. We want to move myself out here. Walmart, a little bit of red. What was good? Look at the big, bright reds. NVIDIA, Lilly, Caterpillar, AFV. How all the healthcare did real well. And the other ones, the Mag 7, Microsoft up, Apple up, Amazon down, Tesla down, Google slightly down, Meta a little bit down. Not the burning red like Philip Morris. A lot of these go on, no news. So, but overall, we went to 19% profitability on our portfolio this year. If you want to talk about people and you want to see these hot persons, just try to find their portfolio performance for this year. I bet you under 10%. I bet you it's under the S&P by quite a bit because they got out in April and they didn't come back in. All right, long show. Stay warm. We're going to be 89 degrees in October. I'll take it. See you next week. Have a good month and talk to you later.